Hey, my name's Eric. I'm making faces that you can talk to. I think there's a reason why I say that at the beginning of each stream. One is it might just give you, the viewer, a quick orientation towards what the heck I'm doing. But also, I'm so down in the weeds. This is a long project. I have to remind myself repeatedly the overall thing that I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make faces that you can talk to. They say things to you, you say things to them with your mouth, and they respond to them. It's like interactive. And I see a little mistake in my OBS text. I'll fix that in a moment. Anyways, let's demo. I like to start with a demo of work completed recently, and I got some good stuff done yesterday. Okay. This screen, briefly, it's used for recording voice audio that corresponds to dialogue in a script. And these guys here, they're all takes, recorded takes. Let's do another one. Let's record the outside is wet, it's just water, I cleaned it off. I'll record like 3 takes of that. Okay. The outside is wet, it's just water, I cleaned it off. The outside's wet, it's just water, I cleaned it off. The outside's wet, it's just water, I cleaned it off. Alright, so we got 3 takes that popped in here as these 3 little squares. If I click on one, the outside is wet, it's just water, I cleaned it off. The outside's wet, it's just water, I cleaned it off. The outside's wet, it's just water, I cleaned it off. Okay, so now those are my 3 takes, and I could say I just want to use one of them in the the finished production conversation that will happen at some point. So I'm going to pick one of them. Say I like the first one. Well, say also I don't like the second one. I can do this. I can delete it. And okay, but say this is the one I want, the first one. Then I move it over to finalize. First thing is it asks me to trim any unwanted audio silence off the beginning and end. So if I hit test, the outside is wet, it's just water, I cleaned it off. There's a lot of space here at the beginning, a lot of space here at the end. I can drag this in, and I can drag this in, test it again. The outside is wet, it's just water, I cleaned it off. So you want to cut off that initial space at the beginning because that allows the audio to start really fast without a delay when you play it back. And in a conversation, that's going to be important. You want to take silence off the end so that the conversation engine is able to move on to the next piece of dialogue faster. And there's also room to specify gaps of any amount at the end of dialogue without using silence from the audio file itself. Okay, so I get that how I like it, and I click next. It goes on to the next step. So it did figure out the lip animation timings, and it resaved this to the database. This here marks that I have a final take. The outside is wet, it's just water, I cleaned it off. Okay, so that one, when I click on it, it just immediately starts, the outside is wet. The outside is wet, it's just water, I cleaned it off. Whereas if I go to this one,
The outside is wet. It's just water. I cleaned it off.
That's the untrimmed version. So if I didn't like the trim that was over in the final, I could still pull this over again and redo it. I could just go do. Then I've got that same thing again. I can adjust again. Say there was like a little bit of the T that was over here, and I chopped it off. I could come out a little further, and then do next, and it generates the lip animation timings again. Okay, I did some other things too. Like I optimized that waveform visualizer so that it doesn't have to like redraw all the individual lines that make up this waveform on every single frame. It'll cache that inside of a bitmap, so it's a simple bitmap blit or copy. So that means that when I click test,
the outside's wet. It's just water. I cleaned it off.
That needle moves along smoothly, many frames per second, at least 20. Actually, I set it at 20, so that's probably where it's at. And also, when I drag, I go and it's really fast and performant. Yeah, so it's just a nicer waveform visualizer. I did find a bug, not in my code, but in somebody else's. And it was disappointing to me because I believe I have like one of the very best JavaScript packages for reading and writing WAV files, but it's got some bugs in it. So like I wrote some code that took all those animation timings and using the WAV file package put them into the WAV file itself. So you think of WAV files as having just information about audio in them, but they actually have all kinds of other things that you can put in them. You can put in subtitles, you can put in timings for different events, in my case the lip animation timings. You can mark off ranges of audio and add labels to them. You can say things about I don't know, just a shitload of stuff really. I don't need to go into it all. You'd be amazed. So if you ever read through the spec, just how many things besides audio and audio samples you can put in the WAV file. So this other library, and I don't mean to diss on it, but this other library, it has a facility to write these events, and it did it, but when I read back in the same file that it generated, it throws an exception. It doesn't read the file. And I had seen some other issues with some different files that I fed into it, where depending on how the data was formatted, it was either parsable or not. And I don't fault the library so much. It is pretty hard to write I'm going to say a riff parser, because that's the underlying file format that WAV is based upon, that takes into account all the possible ways that you can use riff. Riff is a very rich format. So I wanted to actually fix the problems in that repository, but the build and test code wasn't working, and I couldn't get the maintainer to help me get past that problem. I spent like a few hours yesterday trying to get the build to work correctly, and it was very, very difficult to find a fix for it. I suspect that there's some files that the maintainer hasn't checked in, like kind of project configuration files, maybe a tsconfig.json or something like that. Or he's got global installations that aren't available to anybody who imports the library. So the presence of those build problems, plus not seeing any recent activity on the project or responses to issues makes me think that it's not going to be a good use of my time to try to fix the problems in that library. I've got 2 open issues that don't have any response to them, and I don't have an ability to make a fork and contribute bug fixes in a way that gives me confidence that those merge requests will actually be pulled in and useful, because I feel like I'm missing some of the environment that the maintainer already has. So if I find ways to work around it, the maintainer is going to probably think, well, you just redid a whole bunch of stuff that is working fine for me. And then we would just kind of be diverging in our paths. And it just seems like a hassle, both for me and the maintainer, for me to try to directly fix the problems there. So I'm coming up with a different approach. Let me fix this one problem. Yeah, the reading and writing wave files. There we go. So the OBS was showing like a little guy's face, and that's just because I had a wrong character in my text there. Not very important. Okay, back to Wisp. Okay. So yeah, do I want to use this session to get into the design work? Design is usually not a great thing to stream. What I might do instead is just do a little more work on this dialogue here. I can think of one change that would be really nice to have. Be basically this. I make automatic placement of the start and end thumbs based upon what crosses over a room noise threshold. I've got some code for detecting it already that I wrote. It'd be interesting to have lots of quick examples to test it on here too, and now with a visual indicator of it. It wasn't really very easy to test out that code with unit tests because, I don't know, you really need the visual stuff to be able to see like where things are at. And now I've got it. So yeah, I think I'll work on that in this session. That shouldn't be too hard. I should be able to get that done maybe in an hour and a half. All right, let's do that. So if I go to, well, I feel like I might have some uncommitted stuff. Let's do that too. Get status. Go over to SO Web Audio. Nothing there, okay. And then SO Web Face. Nothing there, okay. So, okay, SO Web Audio. Peak util. Is that it? Nah, that's not it. Sample util, that's not it. RMS util. Okay, maybe it's in a different project. Conversations. I'm kind of proud of this algorithm. Probably somebody's made another algorithm that's better, but Noise floor util. Close all tabs and group. Okay. Noise floor util. Okay. Find segment continue. Yeah. Okay. Find most frequent segment. Okay. Let me find the top level function. Find noise floor. It's going to return the noise floor. What is the noise floor? Oh, I've got an interface there. Okay. Okay, so I'll return back the chunks. So most frequent. Okay, so it's this noise floor RMS. So thinking about that. It's going to return an RMS value. Then I can go through the chunks. Each one is going to be. Each one is going to have an RMS value. And then I can find the first chunk that goes over the noise floor, and I can set the position based on that. So the chunks are like a group of samples that can be averaged to get a loudness value. So this is going to be it. Now, what's this find noise floor plus? This kind of looks the same. Yeah, it seems a little bit sloppy to me. Anyways, let's copy all this, and I'll just bring it over into my SL Web Audio project. And I'll just add a new module here. Noise floor util. Okay. And then I just do not see the reason for having two of these other than the options. What about the options? Chunk duration and segment count. Like I could pass default options to this. But anyways, I think, here, let's take this out. All right, do I have a set of tests for this? Let's go back to conversations. Do for some of these other ones. Did I copy those over? Well, this should go under processing. Okay, I do have one for peak util. What about RMS util and sample util? If I've got tests, I might as well bring them over. if that one is in RMS util. Let's try it. Nope, it's not there. Okay. This subtract audio thing is tricky. Anyways, that's out of the scope of what I'm doing, so let's leave that alone. Back to SO Web Audio. Okay. Noise floor util. Let's move this around a little bit. Const. Yeah. Chunk duration. Maybe. Let's see what I did in the other project. Default chunk duration, segment count 10. Oops, going to the wrong place. Yeah. Segment count 10, and then what was the other one I used for the chunk duration? Okay, do I also have that in RMS util? I'll check. But let's go get the value. Do I have it here? I do. It's 1 divided by 20. It's going to be real interesting to see. Did it pick up the same thing? 1 divided by 20. No, it didn't. Default chunk duration. This just comes from RMS util, but I don't have that function. What do I need it for? Oh yeah. Okay. This will get the test. Ooh, I'd have to pull in these guys. Okay, interesting. Gonna need array util as well, which I don't mind. I don't mind at all. Where is my array util? There it is. Comment. Then I guess tests. What is this? Do we need that? Don't know why that came in. Okay. Alright, so that's array util. Let's go back to RMS util. We gotta make test wavs, huh? So this is going to be calc peak, amplitude, average, and range. This is a little time consuming to bring all this stuff in, but on the bright side, I know this is decent code. You know what? I'm doing a lot of work here. I'm bringing in a lot of code for that particular unit test. And I think I don't need that unit test. Okay, so if I don't need that, is arrayUtil used by anything? Besides the test stuff, let's see. 6 usages, that's all tests. Anything that's not tests, no. Okay, let me just take this out. Okay, what are your usages? All tests? All tests. Oh wait, is findMax used by anything? No, it's not. Okay. So let's get rid of that. Okay. Test waves, I'll get rid of that. Okay, here's my noise for util. Okay. So this is the main function. I need to export this. Sort. Okay, let's build it, see how it works. Or see if it builds at least. Ah, dang it. Alright, let's just... I guess I did need findMax. But I don't find having like a whole thing, a whole module for that. Let's just do one function copy over. Okay, arrayUtil. Okay, so that built. So then I go to Wisp. So now I've got this function to find the noise floor. Okay, here's my dialog for trimming speech. It's got this thing here which loads the wave. And say set start and end values from sample analysis. Audio buffer, and we'll do set start value, set end value. Okay. Const. Wait, I was doing something with the defaults though. Like equals default options. That's what I want. But let's be more specific, because there might be some other function later on. Default moves floor options, let's call it that. Okay, so then come back to Wisp, and we say, oh, I don't remember the name of this. Find noise floor. I'll just grab all that. Const result equals find noise floor samples audio buffer sample rate options, just leave it as the defaults. Noise floor data. Oh, come on, come on, come on. Yeah, that one. There we go. Okay. So from this, noise floor RMS. Okay. So then we go through each chunk. find first chunk that is above the noise floor. Go ahead, Copilot. Here's your chance to shine. Yeah, close. Except the chunk is just going to be an RMS value itself. And this can be simplified. Even further. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to put it back how I had it. It feels like I'm being too clever. And I thought of some other nuances that will work better if I just keep these two things separate. So, if chunk greater than noise floor RMS, start chunk now equals I greater than 0. Yes, then we do I minus 1. Otherwise, nah, let's leave it at I keep going back and forth on what I want to do, but that's fine. Suppose it gets all the way to the end. If it gets all the way to the end, then I just don't trust the noise floor. Okay, if I didn't find a chunk above noise floor, just let's see, then I don't trust its usefulness. Clever. But that's not quite right. If I equals, yeah, and then you, okay. Okay, negative 1. If start chunk no equals negative 1. And I want to yeah. And I can tell right now that I'm going to have a similar block like this after the thing where I find the last chunk. So I'm probably better served if I do something like this. Const start chunk no equals, yep. You'll see why in a minute, why this is useful. Chunks, that's probably right. No, I think it's just a number. Just a number array. I'll check it in a moment. And here I can just return I. Here I can return negative 1. Okay. Find and chunk. Backwards. And I know the world doesn't like to do it this way, but I always like the plus plus and minus minus at the beginning. I find there's like less surprises about behavior for myself. Okay. Okay, so I need to know how many samples are in a chunk. I'm going to give Copilot a chance. Calculate number of samples in one chunk. That's pretty fucking good. That's actually, that's what I want. Okay, I don't really need the sample now. Yeah, now I think about it, I don't need the chunk size. I don't need the sample now because the start value and end value are percents. So what I need instead is a percent complete based on the chunk. Okay, so if I do const chunk count equals, yep. Yeah, got to do the %. Yeah. Sometimes I swear it's listening to me, like it's listening to me talking. Okay, but these are not quite right because this one's right. This other one, the end chunk now, it's got to go +1 because chunks are kind of like this. All right, here's 0, chunk 0. They've got width to them. Okay, and suppose that 1 and 2 were the start and end. Well, 1, I'm saying here's the start. 2, I'm saying here's the end. And let's clamp. This is a little bit cheesy. 0 and 100. Should I clamp it? I should have more certitude about my calculation rather than clamping it. All right, so let's see. Suppose end is 3. If end is 3, then what I really want is four divided by 4 is 1. No, this is correct. No clamp. No training wheels. This is the correct code. And I don't like this comment because I can instead put it in the function name and have it be self-documenting. Yeah, find first chunk above noise, find last chunk above noise floor. Okay. There. To me, that's better because that comment didn't really add that much, and if the code beneath it changed, then it's likely to invalidate that comment. Whereas this one is an explanation of the code beneath. It's not just a restatement of what the code does. But you know, I can just go a little bit further with this notion. Do I trust the analysis? Yeah. There we go. A little bit silly to have the word I in a variable name. Yeah, okay. Is analysis trustable? Trusted. Okay. So that might be everything. I am seeing the samples come out here. I feel like I should pass the samples instead of calling get channel data again. So const next samples equals that one. Okay, and let's change this to next samples and what's the sample rate? That feels wrong. Is that right? No, that's right. That is right. Okay. Samples float 32 array and then sample rate. Do I need it? I do, because it's got find noise floor there. Okay. Oh, what the heck does it use the sample rate for? I don't need to find out. I'll just trust a past version of myself as far as needing that sample rate. Because I'm not bad about cleaning things up as I go and removing unused stuff. So I just trust myself on that one. Okay. Now we try it. So if I take this guy, look at that. It didn't do too bad, to be honest.
The outside is wet. It's just water. I cleaned it off.
See, I missed a little at the end.
The outside is wet. It's just water. I cleaned it off.
It's pretty good,
The
though.
outside is wet. It's just water. I cleaned it off.
This is kind of a fun moment for me.
Start. Buddy, hey buddy.
Okay, let's try this. So it gets caught up on this little bit here.
Start. Buddy, hey buddy. Buddy, hey buddy. Buddy, hey buddy.
Okay.
Hey, you there. Hey, you there.
Okay. So it still needs a little tweaking manually, but it's not bad. I kind of wonder about those default options.
You seem okay, like I can trust you.
Because it might be that I'm not giving the chunk size enough granularity, and that's why it's kind of going right into the middle of stuff. The basic algorithm is working not bad, though. I gotta say that.
You seem okay, like I can trust you.
Okay. Cancel that. Let's play with some other options. I might be able to do better. Yeah, it's really cool. I could grab that old piece of code that I spent so much time on and find a new use for it. And it seems to be working really well with a different set of WAV files. So let's see. So let's call options here. No, you don't know the options. What is it? Default chunk duration. That's the one I would actually like to change. Okay, and the default chunk duration is 1 divided by 20. So I'll do like 1 divided by 40 and see how that goes. I suppose I could just inline it, but yeah, it's good. So let's try that. See if it gets better. Not really. Right there, it's still kind of fuck all. But let's keep playing with it. Let's do 80. Okay, it does go further out. This is going to be messed up, and that's okay. Let's try another one that's got. Okay, still right there, huh?
Hey, you there.
Definitely cut off there at the end.
Hey, you there.
I won't try to get perfect, but I do want to play with these settings to see if I can find something that's a little more optimal. So 1 divided by 80, that is times 1,000. How many milliseconds? 12? Okay. I've made that number too small. This other one might need more gradation.
Hey, you there.
Okay, let me try a little more. 40. That might be it, honestly.
Hey, you there. Hey, you there.
Pretty sweet. Pretty good.
Start. Buddy, hey, buddy.
That's not bad.
Buddy, hey, buddy.
Okay, let's keep going. I want to see them all. It's pretty good.
You seem okay, like I can trust you.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, washing a bag.
That's just a garbage recording. Let's delete that one.
2.
Nice.
4.
And those ones aren't very snug, but they're such short samples that they're kind of hard to.
5.
Oh, it caught the
5.
That's correct. It caught the very subtle 5.
5.
These settings might not be perfect for every recording environment, so I don't want to tweak them forever, because we get to a different recording environment, it may be just a lot different. Okay. That's nice.
You stand here, hold the bag for 2 minutes.
Man, I love that.
I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Yeah, did it chop off the end of that S there?
I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Yeah, it did a little bit. But that's okay. It's the kind of stuff you manually adjust for.
I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Okay.
I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Yeah, it needs a little.
I'll be back in 5 minutes.
Yeah, this is cool.
You can't silence me.
Chair squeaking. Have to do that one manually.
You can't silence me.
It's a pretty noisy recording environment, so it's not doing bad. Okay, you can't silence me.
You can't silence me.
Okay, that little blip there confused it.
You can't silence me.
We would just fix it like that.
You can't silence me. You can see it sloshing. Don't worry, I sealed it up good.
Is there a D on the end of that? I want to know.
You can see it sloshing. Don't worry, I sealed it up good.
No. Unless that's the D way down
You
there.
can see it sloshing. Don't worry, I sealed it up good.
No, it's not. Okay, so the initial thing it picked was actually correct. Right.
The outside is wet. It's just water. I cleaned it off.
A little bit of a clipping off of the there, maybe.
The outside is wet. It's just water. I cleaned it off.
A little bit.
The outside's wet. It's just water. I cleaned it off. The outside's wet. It's just water. I cleaned it off.
Oh, this makes me happy. Okay. Well, let's commit. Oh, yeah, let's go back to Wisp. Default start and end range for trimming speech is set from noise floor detection algorithm. It just makes me happy. It really does. It really does. Do-do-do-do.
I'll be back in 5 minutes.
It's very good enough. Like if I wanted to, I could most of the time just use this default. Yeah. Okay. There's a weird amount of time left on my session. Like not really enough to dig into something deep. I'm gonna try one thing. The thing I wanted to learn was if I can take some data that's bytes and use the built-in browser APIs to process it as a WAV file. I'm not sure if it's allowed. JavaScript load WAV file from bytes. Should say web. Yeah. Okay, this is decode audio data. So that's the trick there. If I have an audio context, I can pass it an array buffer and decode it. Now, the reason why this is important, I know that this function here is going to be successful in loading in just about any type of WAV file. Now, there's this old adage about open source that, many eyes find all bugs. But for some things, I trust the commercial code that has been rolled out to just a huge number of people, millions and millions of users, paid programmers to debug and handle different problems over the years. So in terms of just playing back any old audio, reading it in and playing it, I really trust the browser code. But the browser code has no ability to read and write information beyond the samples and just the pure audio. And I kind of want to use these other features of the riff format to store the lip animation timings. I said I kind of want to. No, I really do want to. So I think my design is going to be use this guy to load in the audio data, and then use my own code that's based off of some open source projects to write the WAV files, and also to read in just the part that has the animation timing. And the reason why it's practical for me to write that code myself is because I only have to deal with the subset of all the different riff formatting stuff, and I can be guaranteed, at least in my particular project, that any files I read that contain this lip animation timing will have been generated also with my code to write the WAV files. So instead of having to be able to read in every possible permutation of a riff file and spend days checking the specs and coming up with all kinds of test cases and stuff, I can just limit it to one valid WAV file, one particular format that is maybe specific to WISP, but is still within the valid range of WAV file formatting. I suspect that my stream is not coming through very well. That's probably, I see like this really chunky, low frame rate stuff on my stream. Not sure what's up with that. I'm gonna reload this. I've noticed the YouTube exports are fine. Let me turn on my audio and see what it actually does. Yeah, no, I'm not going to be able to both record the stream and listen to the stream. Anyways, I suspect my stream is kind of fucked. Alright, which is a good reason to just stop the stream, and I'll continue my ramblings off in private. Hey, whoever just joined, is my stream messed up for you? Like, do you see choppy video playback? Like maybe 4 frames per second choppy video playback? If you don't mind giving me a little feedback there, I would appreciate it. Trying to see if it's just my local computer or if the stream is really messed up. Honestly, that was like the last thing I was waiting for. If you, the lurking joiner, just feels like telling me if my stream and playback is screwed up, I'd appreciate it. Other than that, I'm about ready to stop the stream. All right. Stopping the stream.